best ways to assess executive functioning skills are actually not what you think. We're going to get into the 3 ways to assess executive functioning skills in school-based or private settings. I'm going to start off with my favorite, and actually, whenever you dive deep into executive functioning skills and you hear people talk about how do we actually assess them and weigh out what's what and which is which, observation is the best way to really get to the meat and potatoes. Observation in their real life, right? So observing them in the classroom. Obviously, if you can't go home with the child, asking a lot of questions. Tell me about, what does this look like? And ask really good, juicy questions so you can get the person that's with you, with the child, to really describe what it looks like, what it feels like, how long it takes, the emotions involved, because that's going to really give you good feedback as to what in the world is going on there. If you are in the classroom, observe the child in many different areas, not just during math class, right? What do they look like in the cafeteria? What do they look like transitioning? What in the world happens in PE class? You can find out a lot about executive functioning skills. Are they the last one to get a cafeteria line because they forgot their lunch money? All of those things will give you a picture of executive functioning skills. Why? Because we need to know, believe, breathe, and eat that executive functioning skills are embedded into everything these kiddos do, whether they have a diagnosis, whether they don't have a diagnosis. It all weaves in and out of executive functioning skills. But in order for that observation to be really valid, you need to be really solid on what you are looking for. At the end of the video, we're going to jump into that, but I have 2 resources for you that are going to help you be really solid in what you're looking for. Okay, number 2, questionnaires. I do like questionnaires. I do. I have some that I have made up myself. I have some that I have pulled from different resources, and I kind of make like a hodgepodge of them. And I give them out to the parents. I give them out to the teachers, but they're all very how do you say, they're very situation specific. In this situation, does the student tend to do A, B, and C? So it then kind of gives me some feedback. When I get an older student, which I tend to work with a lot, I always give the questionnaire to the older child. I'm not going to give you an age. I know you're going to ask me. I'm not going to give you an age because, sometimes a 14-year-old is very good at going over that questionnaire. Sometimes a 12-year-old is, but for sure, if they're in high school, I want them answering their own questionnaire, and I want parents answering their own questionnaire. If they're in middle school, I also would encourage us to get their questionnaire, and also try and get mom, and if you're lucky enough to be in the school, get a teacher to answer it along with the child. Not that one's right and one's wrong, but again, we're just basically getting a bird's eye view into what is actually happening from the child's perspective, and from the teacher's perspective, and from the parent's perspective. And then we get to put it all together to figure out how we can best help the child help themselves. Okay, so the third one, if I am lucky enough to get a psychoed report, a lot of time these psychoed educational reports will have a lot of information about executive functioning skills. So I use that in addition to the data that I already collect. Most commonly, they use the brief, which does collect information, but I still count on my observations, and then I piggyback any other resources that I get. Not because one is not valid, it's because the most valid way to look at executive functioning skills is in the moment when it's happening. So if I'm lucky enough to get in there and I see exactly what happens, or I get a really good description from home at what happens, that's very valuable. Sometimes when we are assessing for executive functioning skills in this very pretty standardized test, we don't get the full picture, right? So I like to take whatever information I have and combine it with the observations. But for me, observations are golden. I'm lucky enough that I'm in a school setting where they actually want functionally what is happening in the school, what is happening in the classroom. So I take that with me to my private practice, what's actually happening at home. Sometimes they're like, oh, this person told me to do this, my doctor, my teacher, my mother, but I'm like, okay, I need to know what is happening in your house from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. Where are the wheels falling off the bus? So we can try and put the pieces together to best help. The best way to put these observations into use is for you to really know what these executive functioning skills are that you're looking for. So there's a bazillion resources out there. So I encourage you to get familiar with them. And I have a great resource. It's an executive functioning guide. It will give you a good feel for what it looks like when it's there and what it looks like when it's missing. I also dive deep into the strengths-based approach for executive functioning skills. That is in the next video. So I encourage you to grab the download and go ahead and watch that video, because that together is really going to empower you on how in the world am I going to use this, so that I can talk about executive functioning skills to really help a student in the school-based setting or in the private setting. I'm Nicole Santamaria. Let me know in the comments below if you have ever been in a situation where you're trying to assess executive functioning skills and you don't even know where to begin. And if you've ever tried to do observations but you're not sure where to pinpoint it, let me know where you're at, what experiences you've had. I'd love to hear. And of course, like, share, subscribe to my channel. See you at the next video.